Back, everybody. The Boston Red Sox lose again, 8-6 to the Brewers in yet another humiliating display on television. This is just ridiculous. I'm Nick the Voice, joined by Jason Kelly and Terry Cushman Jr. We are the Bastards of Boston. And remember, bastardsofbostonbaseball.com for great written articles. Now, guys, let's just jump into this. The Red Sox are starting off on an absolute skid. This team that, just yesterday in my mind, 2018, we started 17-2. We're on our way to 2-17 at this point. It's the complete opposite. 2-8 to start the season. You don't want to see that skid really anywhere in the season. And yet we're opening the gates right out in March and April with a 2-8 skid. I think it all starts with the pitching. Let's talk about Brayan Bello. What'd you guys see?
Yeah, so Bello wasn't terrible tonight, but it's again one of those starts where I walk away frustrated because he didn't even get to the fifth inning. He left on 86 pitches, and it was more just Brayan Bello not being efficient. He had to, he was putting guys on base. He had 4 walks. Now, the good news was that through the most part, at least through the first couple of innings, he had guys on base, but he was able to get out of the jam. And he was actually getting a lot of swing and miss, which is kind of unusual for Bello. He's more of the ground out, kind of guy. So to see him getting swings and misses like that was encouraging. And that's sort of like the tease that Brayan Bello gives you. Like, he shows you he's got good stuff. His mechanics are good, and he can be a guy who can strike out 5, 6, 7 guys a game. He's never going to be Crochet levels of strikeout, but tonight he showed you he's got that stuff. But it's just everything in between. Taking too many pitches, too many walks, and the fact that he had to leave early. This is the Brayan Bello story. And this is why I can't co-sign when people say, well, Bello, his upside is that he could be your number 2 someday. Or I don't think so. I think he's always going to be a, low end 3, high end number 4, because he gives you starts like this where you're having to dip into your bullpen. First game of a series, already in the 4th inning, and you've got to go to the bullpen. That's just, it's too early. It's too much of that. So, was he god awful? No. But he really also didn't help you because your bullpen's not a strength this year, and he wasn't able to go a little bit deeper. And so, you had a 3-run lead that quickly evaporated because he just loaded the bases and Cora had to make a move, and it was all downhill from there. So frustrating game from Brayan Bello. It's one of those where I keep waiting for something to click with him, and it's still not clicking yet.
Brayan Bello was called up in 2022. So that means this is going to be the 5th major league season he has pitched in. So I think he is who he is, unfortunately. He might go on these nasty runs. I'm trying to think of a guy to compare him to. Maybe Marcus Stroman without the temper tantrums. I don't know if that's a good comp or not, but ideally, he's probably your number 4 starter. And the bad news is we don't have a number 2 and 3 in front of him right now so far. Maybe Sonny Gray's coming off a good start. Maybe I'll take a massive L on all my winner takes and maybe he'll be good. I don't know. But yeah, and like Jason said, he was getting a lot of swing and miss on lefties with, I don't know if it was a sweeper or what, but when he was attacking them down and inside, he was getting tons of whiffs. And I said in the war room, I said, it's going to be interesting if they stop swinging at that because none of them are close to strikes. So I don't know if it's a pitch mix thing, and he just needs to balance himself by not focusing on just one area, because almost immediately after I said that, he started walking guys. And like Jason said, there was 2 on every inning. He got out of it for a while. And the crazy thing was he was at 65 pitches after like the 3rd inning and had given up no runs. And Woodruff was at like 30 pitches, but had given up 3. So 35 pitches. So they were just so opposite in terms of efficiency and giving up runs. But I also thought it was hilarious how the NESN camera for the rest of that inning, who took over for him? was it Coulomb, I think?
Cologne was the first one out, I believe. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was Coulomb, yeah. And, we'll get to the defense in a minute, but not Coulomb's fault for the most part that some of those runs came in. But it ended up being a lengthy inning until he was finally able to get out of it. And the camera kept panning to Bello to capture his look of shame. And I've noticed, and O'Brien was kind of making observations. I noticed Tom Caron has been very critical of the team in the pregame and in the postgame. Like, Nesson is not doing Breslow and Henry any favors right now. Like, they're calling it like they see it. And so not a good start for Bello. The one thing, he's typically not as good against lefties. And Pat Murphy, reigning 2-time manager of the year, by the way, 2 in a row coming into this season, National League Manager of the Year. Alex Cora is not going to outmanage him, but he's stacked up nothing but lefties. And he kind of paid for it later on when Giovanni Moran came in, who would have been the real hero had the Red Sox won by pitching. I don't know if it was 3 full, but he was in there for an extended amount of time and did a good job. Kept him in it until that 3-run inning happened. And so, tough night for Bello.
It really was. I mean, with Bello, you look at certain numbers rather of the box score. You see 5 Ks, you see 86 pitches, I think it was. You see 5 hits. You go, well, that's not too bad. But the fact that it all happened within 3.1 innings is absolutely ridiculous. And you add the 4 walks to it, and that just spells a meltdown. I mean, you guys have always called Bello out on this. The dude lacks control. At the end of the day, you look at a lot of his metrics last year, and it was a lack of K and a lack of discipline that ultimately held him back from really hitting what a lot of people speculated could be his ceiling. And like you said, guys, this dude is 26 years old. You have to believe that Brayan Bello is who he is. And it wouldn't be so bad if we had other guys on the pitching staff stepping up, but we don't right now. It seems like Garrett Crochet seems to be one of the only pitchers who, aside from Sonny Gray's last start, who seems to really have it together right now. And it's very frustrating to see a game where the offense steps up and scores runs get blown away by the pitching staff when that was supposed to be a strong suit. You look at Brayan Bello's Illustrator chart online, right? And you see where all of the pitch locations from tonight were. And you just see an overabundance of ground balls, not ground balls that were hit by the batters, ground balls that reached home plate on the ground. It's absolutely unacceptable. They're non-competitive pitches, and it's not just Bello. He might be one of the worst examples of it on the pitching staff, but a lot of guys are out there wasting pitches too high, too outside, too low. A lack of control not being made up for by an overwhelming amount of stuff. It's very frustrating to watch. The way that I'm sort of looking at the team right now is our pitching staff is kind of pitching to opposing hitting cores as if they're the Boston Red Sox lineup, because we love to chase pitches. We love to just swing at anything outside of the zone. We love to miss, whiff on balls. And, our guys are pretty much pitching with that mindset. And maybe if they were pitching to themselves, maybe if our pitching staff was pitching to our lineup, they'd be unhittable. But, I mean, the Brewers are a good, really good baseball team. They have been for years. They seem like an organization that just has their stuff together. And, I mean, they ran circles around us. The nail in the coffin, you mentioned Moran, absolutely stellar performance. It was 3 full innings. 45 pitches, would have been the hero of the game, like you said. And unfortunately, when, Garrett Whitlock comes in and gets tagged for 2 runs, but, only earned 1 of them, right? Because this team, well, maybe we can get into the fielding now. That's sort of where my head is at, because in addition to the pitching, this was supposed to be a defense first team. That was really the statement, right? That Breslow made, that you heard a lot of Red Sox media personnel say. This is going to be the run prevention unit. That's what the fan base was calling it. And this run prevention unit right now, I believe, coming into tonight, was 3rd in errors in the league. And right now, I believe after 10 games, we have 11 errors. Absolutely unacceptable.
Someone's got to sit down with Jason Varitek and ask him, what exactly is it that you do here? Because he's their run prevention coordinator or manager, whatever his official title is, but that's his job. And it ain't working so far. And as far, you mentioned the defense, there's really only one guy on this team that's worth a damn defensively, and that's Willie Abreu. Even Sadon at this point, like he looks like he's playing with his head up his ass in center field. Like that O'Neal Cruz thing he pulled the other night was awful. I think his arm is fine, but it's not very accurate. Roman Anthony looks like he has no arm. That's actually getting scary. Every time he has to throw home, it's eight hops to the catcher. Like I don't know what's going on there. Your infield, I mean, Contreras is good at first base. Myers fine at second, but Myers should be playing shortstop because Trevor Story's arm looks like it's disappearing as well. Every throw to first base is like sinking. It's in the dirt. If he has to make a play ranging to his left and then has to throw to first, forget about it. He's not going to get the ball there. And then Durbin at third base, like he's not a third baseman. He's a second baseman by trade. I think, he can play a little bit of third, but we saw tonight, it's not his strongest position. So yeah, defensively, they're kind of a mess. And there are things they can do to fix it. I think swapping Meyer and Story should have happened already. It's got to happen soon because Story just doesn't have the arm to get it over there from shortstop anymore. And look, he's 33. He's 33. He's had elbow problems. He's obviously slowing down a little bit. So his range is, starting to decline and his arm's declining. It's the easiest thing. He already has played second base for you before. He can do it again. So you can swap those two. In terms of the rest of it, I mean, again, Caleb Durbin is who he is. You went from Rafael Devers to Alex Bregman to Caleb Durbin. And that's on Breslow and Henry. So, you can get mad at Caleb Durbin all you want. He's just kind of, there's not much he can do, right? He's not meant to be playing third base. And as far as the outfield, I think it's got to be, if Duran's in there, he's playing left field and Anthony's got to be DHing because he does not look natural out there in the outfield. And the arm isn't good. It's just, it's rough. So defensively, they've got a lot they need to fix. And look, if you're going to be a run prevention team, pitching first, run prevention, defense is a big part of it. And so far, they look like just a complete mess defensively. It looks like none of that has improved. So I think at the very least, swapping Mayer and Story will help a lot. That's one easy move they can do today. But who knows? That involves Alex Cora actually, talking with his players and talking with his veteran Trevor Story and saying, look, we got to put you at second. I don't know if Cora is comfortable doing that. So the manager might be getting in the way there too.
So I'm going to start with Anthony. I don't know. This is a new thing. Like this wasn't a thing last year. And he was playing right field, the biggest right field in Major League Baseball. So is it a noodle arm or does he have the yips? I don't know which one it is. This tonight took the cake of all the bad throws. Correct me if I'm wrong. I need to take better notes, but I think the runners were on first and second. The second base runner came home on the base hit anyway. The first base runner came all the way home because it bounced bad once it hit the backstop and he was able to just beat it out. He got his fingers under Whitlock's tag and they tried to, I don't blame Cora for trying to look at it, but he was safe. And so I don't know what you do there. If neither is a good scenario. If it's the yips, that's bad. If he's got a noodle arm, which, like I said, he played 70 games last year. 70. How did we not know he had a noodle arm last year? Is what I'm wondering. But if you want the easy fix, he's gonna have to DH. He's gonna have to DH, and Duran's gonna have to go out to left. That's your best alignment. That complicates things because when will Yoshida ever get at bats? Your brand new shiny 2-hole hitter who's actually hitting fairly well at the moment. eventually I expect the dribblers to second for 2.5 weeks to happen, and then we'll reassess who the 2-hole hitter needs to be. But if he's going to be hot right now, put Yoshida second. That's fine. Story looked okay in the 5-hole. I think he got a little bit lucky. He had a blooper that was just out of the range of Sal Frelick to drive in that run. He drove in another one. I forget how that was, but the 5-hole is fine for Story for now, and that is what he is. If this was a good balanced lineup in terms of production, Trevor Story would probably be hitting 5th or 6th. So, but with Anthony, I don't know what to do. And you're 2-8. You can't afford to ride things out at this point. So I don't know how you fix that. And Durbin is still probably far and away the best third baseman we've had, if you want to exclude Meyer for what he did there last year. I mean, there's no perfect infield alignment. I think Trevor Story, like Jason said, absolutely needs to go to second anyway. So that would keep Durbin over there. And I think in his case, he was just too hasty trying to get the double plays, made, and he booted 2 of them. And that, I think Coulomb was the pitcher on the mound at the time. And then was it Hamilton that bunted that? I don't think that was his bunt actually, but they had a bunt that rolled down the line. They let it go. It stayed fair. The runner came home. Everyone was safe. Bases were still loaded. And so I don't know what you do there, but I'm tired of Alex Cora being loyal in certain aspects to certain players. Okay. You need to be loyal to winning. That's what you need to be. And I can't, it just destroys my soul that Jarren Duran is not in the lineup every day. I'm not saying he needs to play 162 games, but I mean, he should be starting 140, I would say. And not necessarily at DH. I mean, he was the golden child the season before last. Why is Alex Cora not loyal to a guy like Duran who will run through a wall from you, but he's so loyal to Trevor Story? I don't get that.
He really does play musical chairs with the lineup, and I don't envy the position that Cora is in right now, because at the end of the day, the way Masataka Yoshida is hitting the baseball right now and the amount of money they're paying him, I mean, it mandates that this guy play almost every game when a right-handed pitcher is on the mound. The problem is like you said, Duran has the same mandate. Willie Abreu, the same thing. You can't bench Anthony. You can't bench Ceddanne Rafaela's glove, regardless of how it's been to start this year. It's just a really unenviable position where the roster is not constructed well. And it's bizarre because Breslow gets this intellectual reputation, right? He's almost too analytical. It's another in a long line of GMs going back to Chaim Bloom and now Breslow, where you have these guys, they call it, paralysis by analysis. They say these are bookworms. They say they're stiff. But nothing about this roster comes across as super analytical to me. Nothing about this team strikes me as too bookish, too optimized. You know what I mean? There's really a lack of book smarts right now. It's almost like Breslow has 40 guys for the 40-man roster. And as soon as he got all of his guys, he went, oh, whoops, we're out of room. And that's it. There was no real planning, no real musical chairs. He saw that Duran was valuable, and so he didn't want to trade him. Willie Abreu is valuable. I can't trade him. Masataka Yoshida is not really valuable. No one's going to trade for him. So I guess I'll just keep them all and have them serve essentially the same role because of depth, just in case someone gets injured like they did at the end of last year, which really just served to vindicate him and ingrain a bad habit even deeper. It's frustrating to watch. Masataka Yoshida right now, he's hitting like a truck. I mean, and the walk rate is what's surprising me. He's up from about a 5 or a 6% career walk percentage up to about 32, which is probably sustainable, I hope. And, so long as he's hitting like this, I like the fact that Story got bumped down. I wasn't a fan of Story in the 2-hole to begin with, as many people who have been listening will know. The fact that Cora is willing to bump around the lineup, it's good, but it's also sad that we need to. 10 games in, something clearly isn't working, and we're already bringing back the Wally head, you know? It's like I tweeted out before, it's like when you're bowling and you roll a strike. And then over and over again, you keep saying, "What did I do to roll that strike? Let me set my beer exactly like this. Let me go through the same ritual." This team is so desperate for some juice. They're bringing back the Wally head. And I'll tell you, when Wilson Contreras hit it in the 9th inning with 2 outs to cut the lead down from 3 runs to 2, that was the saddest Wally head I've ever seen. He deserved better.
Yeah, that was akin to like singing "Sweet Caroline" when you're down 15-0. Like we're really gonna bring the Wally head out for that. And you're still down 2 runs. Like, yeah, that was a bit much. And to your point about the lineup and Cora having to mix and match, yeah, it's good. Like I think Cora is good at doing that. He's good at kind of moving guys around and trying to figure out how to get the most out of them. But Terry asked this a couple of shows ago. It's like, what's the vibe in the locker room? Do you think? And honestly, I think it's just they all probably feel like the lineup is very schizophrenic, and guys are sitting there going, "I have no idea if I'm going to play today or if I'm going to be on the bench." Like that's kind of frustrating for a lot of guys, especially a guy like Jaron Duran, who he wants to be out there every day. He's a gamer. Like he doesn't want to sit. And yeah, sometimes you have to save guys from themselves, right? Like Duran wants to play all 162, but he can't, and Cora knows that, and he's got to protect him. And Cedon Rafaela really broke down in the second half of last year. He lost weight and was really struggling to keep up with the schedule. So guys like that need rest too. But it's there's only a few guys that can look at the lineup card every day and go, yeah, I know I'm going to be in there, right? Contreras is one of them. Trevor Story's another, and then probably Narvaez, right? At least on most days. But your outfielders don't know. Your outfielders every day have no idea if they're going to be in the lineup or not. Caleb Durbin has no idea if he's going to be in the lineup or not. Marcelo Meyer doesn't know if he's going to be in the lineup. That's going to get frustrating after a while, like especially when you're losing. If you were 8-2 instead of 2-8, then they go, okay, well, yeah, it's frustrating not being in the lineup today, but hey, we won again, so it's working. And if that means I got to take more days off or whatever, fine. As long as we're winning, that's okay. When you're 2-8, guys like Jaron Duran don't want to be sitting on the bench handing out the Wally head to Wilson Contreras in the 9th inning when you're about to lose. Like that's just not going to jive very well. So I agree with you. I don't envy Cora because the whole reason he has to do this is because his general manager, has poor roster construction and gave him too many outfielders. I mean, imagine how much easier things would be and how much more streamlined the lineup and everything would be if they had just traded for Joe Ryan and kept Alex Bregman. Your whole team would be so much better. You'd have a true, third baseman, middle of the lineup bat. You'd have a true number 2 starter, not a fake number 2 starter like Ranger Suarez. And you would have solved your outfield logjam because you probably would have traded one of them for Joe Ryan. But Breslow couldn't do it. He couldn't pull the trigger on that. He balked on the Alex Bregman contract, completely screwed that up. He balked on Pete Alonso. So to your point about the lineup doesn't look very bookish, it doesn't look very analytical. You're right, it's not. The lineup and the roster is Breslow's like second and third options, because everything that he wanted to do, he failed at. He wanted to keep Alex Bregman, screwed that up. He wanted Joe Ryan, couldn't get it done. He wanted Pete Alonso, couldn't get it done. So this lineup and this roster is all just, it's the that'll do kind of roster. It's Craig Breslow going, I couldn't get my main guys, but you know what? Wilson Contreras, that'll do. Sonny Gray, yeah, that'll do. Caleb Durbin, yeah, that'll do. That's what it is. And that's a big reason why you're 2-8, because it's not good enough. And a lot of it falls on Breslow.
Muted, Terry.
I walk right into that one. So, Breslow's afraid to make trades because he's afraid he's going to lose the trade. But all he does is lose trades. I mean, the Brewers fleeced us essentially for Kyle Harrison. And then we got obviously Durbin, who's a zero impact bat. you know, if you're trying to improve the defense, that's your argument. He did boot a couple tonight. I don't think he's going to be a bad defender this season, but he doesn't bring any pop from the right side of the plate. From the right side of the plate, you have Trevor Story sometimes, and I think Wilson Contreras is finally heating up. And he was a little, I don't know if we'll get to it, but he was obviously a little bit amped up tonight and hit that one into the light tower. But all he does is lose trades, you know, and people point to the Crochet deal. I'm not giving him any credit for that. He had the Fort Knox of farm systems, made the trade, and then spent half the winter begging the White Sox for Kyle Teal back anyway. So, and then what about Narvaez? Well, okay. I think, you know, he was a lottery ticket type guy and it was a winning lottery ticket. Narvaez did not start games until like the third week of May last year, only when Connor Wong got hurt. So let's not pretend he knew that was a genius move at the time that he made it. So besides that, there's not a lot of winning. He hasn't done crap at the trade deadline. Oh, and by the way, Dustin May for James Tibbs III. That I tweeted out yesterday. That might be James Shields for Fernando Tatis Jr. level bad. Shields was washed by the time that move happened. A decent number 2, number 3 starter for the bulk of his career. I think the Padres and the Royals at one point wanted him to be an ace. He was never that guy on any staff, but solid middle of the rotation guy. So, and then, you know who's turning it around, by the way, also is Jordan Hicks. We'll keep an eye on that. So there's no reason to believe Breslow is going to have a good trade deadline. And then let's just say the strike doesn't happen. There's no reason to believe he's going to have a good winter where he's working fluidly with other agents, you know, for players on the free agent market, and then other executives and other front offices to effectively work the trade market. Maybe Bloom and Sherrington will still do deals with him and probably fleece him, you know, anyway. Oviedo, by the way, how's that looking? Maybe a second Tommy John. So I think Cora will be fired first, and I know a lot of the War Room disagrees with me. Perhaps one or both of you does as well, but I think he's ran his course, and I think Red Sox ownership would love to have Breslow be the scapegoat by firing him, and they can say, well, that was a Breslow move, and then a month later they can fire him too. The ultimate pivot, it would just be an interim thing. If he's willing to, let Theo finish out the season, let him work the trade deadline. Maybe we're screwed and we're not going to make the playoffs anyway, but he can do some housekeeping here and, you know, maybe streamline your outfield, somehow get an infielder that's controllable, what have you. I would do that, then have him lead the search, not Sam Kennedy. Theo Epstein lead the search for the next front office executive and hopefully clean out that front office. I don't know why the 20-year guys still need to be there at this point. Here's my next thing. I thought it was Johnny in the War Room, but perhaps it was my Facebook group chat. Made an excellent point about private equity buying stakes in teams. The Red Sox did that for the first time in, I think it was 2019 going into 2020. They sold a stake of the team. Now, John Henry still is the principal majority owner. But the point that they made was it's never good. The product's never going to be as good when private equity comes in. And that I instantly resonated with me very strongly, because who in that private equity firm, I don't even know who they are, who out of that whole group is even a Red Sox fan? Who out of that whole group can tell you who your starting third baseman is or who your starting right fielder is? They don't care. They only care about money. There is no passion from private equity people. They don't care. They only care about the spreadsheets and the bottom dollar. And maybe that is a big part of what's going on here. And, you know, the title of this show is John Henry Needs to Sell the Team. Maybe he does. You know, I don't know if the Red Sox are the most passionate fan base in all of Major League Baseball. They're probably no worse than top 5. And I think they deserve an owner that is as passionate about winning as they are. Okay. It's not a hot take. And there was a couple viral videos tonight of the crowd chanting "Sell the team," which started in the finale of who did we just play? The Padres series.
Yep.
Yeah. So it started then, and Dave O'Brien didn't quote it, but he said they're chanting again, as Whitlock was blowing the game. And we never really get to see the post-game show if we're doing the podcast, but you can't, there's no safe place to hide if you're John Henry or Craig Breslow at this point. There is no place to hide. And I don't know. I think Alex Cora will be the first domino to fall, just so they could say they did something. I don't know if that could happen. If we get swept here by the Brewers, that would make us, 2-10? I don't know if that's too early. We have seen it in the past before. We saw it happen with this, and the Marlins are a clown show, but they extended Mike Redmond somewhere like the 2012, 2013 season, gave him a 3-year deal, and then fired him 10 games into that. So, I mean, there is a precedent there. And perhaps if they don't do it at the end of the homestand, perhaps they'll do it on the flight back from I think that's against Minnesota. I think we got St. Louis, then Minnesota next. St. Louis, not a cupcake team right now, on paper anyway. They're winning baseball games, and I haven't looked at Minnesota. I can't imagine they're robust, but I think there's going to be a domino to fall here. I think you can't ignore the fans chanting. How much more hostile is it going to get? I mean, we're not in what I mean. I don't say we're going to riot at any point, and nor would I advocate. I would condemn that. But, they're going to get more rowdy. I don't know. Normally they'll take signs away if they try to sneak signs in that aren't pro Red Sox, but there's not a lot of good happening here. And there's no reason to expect this team, even if they go on a run and they win 86 games, it's still a crap product that's going to get bounced right away in the wild card round.
Yeah, I mean, the 2026 Red Sox, they are the antithesis of firing on all cylinders. Something new is going wrong every single game. And, sometimes you'll lose a game and you can say, well, that was just bad luck. 2-8 is not bad luck, especially when, and I know we've had a lot of one-run losses already. I know we've had some close games, but I mean, this product is just not well designed. The team is not well constructed. And, it pains me, because you're absolutely right. The Red Sox, Boston, it's a beautiful sports city with a beautiful history. You see opposing players like Tatis, right, the other day. They come to Fenway, and you see this reverence that they have for it. It's this absolute monument to the game. And it's almost like a hindrance at some point, because unfortunately, Fenway is always going to attract a crowd. This team is always going to sell out games, and they're going to keep losing, and the fans are going to keep chanting. But so long as those seats are filled and beer keeps selling, not a lot's going to change. And it's frustrating to watch because the city deserves better. The team deserves better. It's so frustrating as a fan to watch so many of these players that I like. I love even. These guys are fun. I love watching Contreras. I love Crochet. I love Anthony. I love Meyer. I love these guys, and I want them to win. But then when I look up in that front office, I am just filled with this disgust at this product because, as you said, not only am I lacking hope for the trade deadline, I'm just bracing for impact, saying, oh God, how are we going to get worse? Because that is how bad last trade deadline was. We got worse. The Dustin May trade, we would be better off today if that never happened. I would rather you sit on your hands and do nothing than spend $260 million and trade away a bunch of good players and good prospects and be worse for it. It's absolutely abysmal. It's mind-numbing, and it's aggravating. When you have teams out here, all of these different teams you can pick and choose from. There are real winners in this league, generational winners. The Dodgers are titans for a variety of reasons, but the Mets have a commitment to spending. They haven't won anything, but at least you can say ownership is really trying. Maybe it's banging their head against a wall. Maybe it's futile. Maybe not. The Yankees, you can say, well, they're built for the regular season. Every year they get exposed in the playoffs. Okay, they get there. The Phillies, you can say, well, they're an aging talent pool. Their bubble is going to burst. Their window is going to close. But at least Dombrowski and the players there and the fans there, they have something to hold on to. And then way down the list, so many other teams, I would say the Cubs, I would say the Blue Jays, so many teams come before I mentioned Boston in a positive light, because the way this team has been run, funnily enough, ever since that championship, right? Ever since Dombrowski left that 2019 season, that kind of seemed to mark the beginning of the end, even though it was supposed to be the beginning of a dynasty. It was absolutely frustrating. And, you see teams like the Marlins, you expect them to be bad. Teams like the Rockies, they've made a lot of mistakes. You expect them to be bad. The Boston Red Sox have the resources, have the talent, have the clout to be good, and instead we're being piloted by, what was it, the 11th choice at general manager or president of baseball operations or whatever the title is. It's absolutely unacceptable.
They've become a bad organization. That's the truth of it, and that's the harsh reality, is that they are kind of viewed now as a bad, poorly run organization. Because you have guys like James Tibbs, who you trade away. He struggled with the Red Sox. Now he's thriving with the Dodgers. And I don't know if there's like an official report out there, but the rumor is that he didn't like working with the driveline guys here. And I know the Dodgers are a driveline organization too, so maybe they just hired the better driveline nerds and we got the bad ones. I don't know. But you see a guy like that thriving out in LA when he was struggling here. It's like, even players don't want to be in this organization because they're not getting any better. And you look at a guy like Craig Breslow, who is supposed to be this highly intellectual, analytical guy. Obviously he wasn't their first choice. He was the 11th choice, all that, but he's supposed to be viewed as like a guy who knows what he's doing. And I look at all his moves, I go, I'm not sure he does. Because again, the Dustin May trade, that was a disaster. Kyle Harrison, what happened there? 24 years old, former, high prospect, high draft pick. You have him in your system. And Breslow couldn't figure out how to get the most out of him. And so he just trades him away. And now look what he's doing with Milwaukee. It's Quinn Priester all over again. So it just feels like every time Breslow gets rid of a guy, they go on and they do something better with another organization. And then you bring in guys like Caleb Durbin here, who, say what you want about him, but he got Rookie of the Year votes last year with Milwaukee. He looks like he can't hit his way out of a paper bag with the Red Sox. So that goes down to coaching. And we were talking about Roman Anthony earlier and how bad his arm is. And, Terry was saying he played all these games in right field. How did we not see it? Remember his first game in right field where there was a line drive out there and the ball just went directly under his glove and went all the way to the wall, turned into a triple? And we learned later on that a big reason why these guys struggle when they come up to the big league level is that the Red Sox don't stress teaching fundamentals anymore. It's all about launch angle and, these newfound analytics. They're not harping on fundamentals anymore. So you got guys like Roman Anthony coming up who can't throw and can't even scoop up a ground ball in the outfield properly because the Red Sox don't deem that to be important. The Red Sox coaches decide that now it's fundamentals. We don't need those anymore. Let's focus on launch angle and stuff like that. It's just, it makes no sense. Like it's almost like they just don't want to be a good fundamental baseball team, And the patting themselves on the back after the Christian Campbell contract, like, oh, we're introducing a new generation of hitting, and we've completely changed approach to hitting, and it's going to be revolutionary. Christian Campbell might suck. And I don't think that he naturally sucks. I think they just might have ruined him because he's down there working with the driveline guys. And these are the same guys who are telling Jim Rice, who's a Hall of Famer, hey, F off. We don't care about your opinion. I just think they're actively kind of self-sabotaging. And I don't know how you fix that. I think Terry's right. Cora's probably going to be the first domino to fall here, but it goes way past Cora. That's only the start. I mean, it's an organizational disaster right now between the coaching at the minor league levels and the big league levels to the driveline guys to Craig Breslow thinking he's the smartest guy in the room when he might be, at least in terms of baseball general manager wise, might be the dumbest. Like seriously, he can't make a good move to save his life. And then you got John Henry who just isn't really paying attention. Yeah, I know he was at the ballpark the last couple of days, but he's not tuned in. John Henry doesn't know Caleb Durbin from any other third baseman they stick there. He just goes to Greg. Oh, is this guy good? Yeah, he got rookie of the year votes last year. Okay, and then he goes back on his yacht and goes off to Alaska or whatever the hell it is he does. So they need to change a lot. It's going to start with Cora, unfortunately, but it's got to go way beyond that. And I just don't know. I don't know if Henry or them, if they even care enough to do it.
Jason makes a lot of good points. I mean, you need to do an organizational rebuild, not as far as the rosters go, but as far as the front office goes, and maybe the management and coaching levels. I'm trying to think, like, even the pitching, like, is Breslow even good at that? Like, I'm trying to find evidence of he's got this figured out. And you could say, well, Tolle and Early have emerged, so maybe they're a product of him, and we'll see what happens. I mean, Early has looked okay, not so good in his last start because he wasn't efficient, but maybe they're kind of the saving grace for Breslow right now as a pitching guru. When Bayo was making strides last year, I was like, okay, well, perhaps that's part of it as well. But there's some regression there. And I said there would be some regression. When I'm pointing out all the regression candidates, I said he probably Crochet, nothing major, but maybe not top 3 Cy Young this year. And so I can't render a verdict on the pitching aspect of things, the pitching development aspect of it, but it is questionable. And so when you talk about cleaning stuff out, Cora for sure, he's ran his course no matter how you feel about him. I'm still bitter about the Francona firing, but the clubhouse was lax. And maybe he was a little lax, and maybe he did run his course. I mean, 8 years uninterrupted. Nobody else has had that longevity so far. If Cora pitched in 2020, maybe we're tied, or maybe he's up by 1. I can't remember, but yeah. So he's ran his course. I don't know who you even go with. I didn't know anything about Pat Murphy when he became the Brewers manager. When they lost Craig Counsell to the Cubs, I'm like, well, good luck to the next guy. I mean, Counsell was awesome all those years, and now Murphy looks just as good, if not better. The team responds to him. He's a good leader. I've seen interviews with him and his field side reporters, and he's funny, and you can tell he's just this universally respected guy. Ramon Vasquez, the bench coach, I don't know if he could be that guy. I have no idea. And, so I don't know where do you pivot to? Does Varitek get it? I have no idea. It would be an interim thing for now. Could you go get a David Ross type guy out of nowhere, bring him in? It's rare, I think, for teams to go for an external guy if it's an in-season firing. I'm sure it's happened. I can't think of an example off the top of my head. But like I said, I think that's the first domino. I think Breslow needs to be the second domino. The third domino, I would say, needs to be Driveline. Just get rid of that shit. Just get rid of it. It's like that line in Moneyball that I always love to cite. Nobody reinvents baseball. and just get rid of it. Go find you could get an external guy to come in as the hitting coach. And so Fatsy's gone too, by the way. If you're getting rid of Driveline, you're getting rid of Fatsy. But go back to 2013. It was Dave Magadan who was phenomenal. I think we were the best offense in baseball that year. 2018, you had Tim Hires, who we lost to the Texas Rangers eventually, and he left on his own. He didn't even want to stay. They didn't fire him. He left, and I think he was the hitting coach. By the way, don't quote me on it, but I'm like 80% certain he was their hitting coach in 2023 when they won the World Series. So go get you an old school guy. I'm willing to ride it out with Bailey for now. I mean, we can't say that he's awful, but is he the best pitching coach we've ever had? I don't know. And maybe Bailey could be the manager also. I don't know. Maybe he's the internal guy. I have no idea. We did it with John Farrell. He went to the Blue Jays for a couple years. But you have to clean house. And if it's a lost season, I don't care. I don't care about optics. Clean house. Maybe if the vibe gets a little bit better, then maybe you claw back into it. I mentioned a couple shows ago, 2022, Dave Dombrowski fires Joe Girardi. Rob Thompson slides into it from the bench coach role. They go to the World Series. 2015, ancient history at this point. John Farrell goes out on cancer leave. We're already in last place, so we've got no hope. But for the last 2 months of the year, we were the best team in baseball. We had the best record in baseball, but we were just so far buried by the time Lovello took over. And I thought Lovello was going to suck. And then I wanted him to be the manager so bad. They could have fired Farrell in 2016 when we got swept by the Indians at the time, now the Guardians. And they could have rolled with Lovello, and who knows what history would have had in store for us. If Dave Dombrowski makes the same exact commitments that he made coming into 2018, I would boldly say that we still win the World Series. So you have to clean it. You have to blow it up in the front office. Just blow it up. Cora, Breslow, and Driveline and Fatsy all need to go.
Yeah, they say that one bad apple spoils the bunch. Right now, the whole bunch seems to be bad apples. I mean, this is bad, right? I don't mean to catastrophize, but this is alarm bells. Because we've been talking ever since last year, really, about the rot in the organization. How it's ever present in the front office, in the minor leagues, right? And it's sort of reflective of what you heard about the Yankees a few years ago, right? The fact that the Dodgers scouting report going into that World Series against the Yankees pretty much said, just force them to play baseball and you got a good chance that they'll make a mistake. We are wasting a lot of time right now. We've got guys like Crochet, like Abreu, like Rafaela, all in their prime. You've got young guys coming up, Anthony, Meyer, Early, Tolley, a bunch of really solid prospects in the Red Sox top 10, maybe even top 20. And, what concerns me is with a strike sort of looming over the MLB right now, we're looking at kicking the can down the road to 2028, maybe 2029. It hurts to gut an organization, to clean house completely, to say we need to reinvent ourselves for the new year, right? But I mean, at this point, I don't know what options we have. It's very possible that by the end of the month, the Red Sox are back to treading water. Maybe we're able to dig a hole, to get ourselves out of the one that we're in. But, we're really banking on the pitching staff being who we were promised they were. We're banking on the bullpen returning to its prior year's form, and we're counting on Suarez and Gray to essentially be co-aces behind Garrett Crochet. And this team, I mean, you guys just raised such good points, and it seems like Red Sox Nation as a whole just keeps raising the points, right? This team stinks at baseball. Whether it's bad instincts in the field, bad instincts at the plate, bad decisions from a managerial standpoint, bad decisions from a front office standpoint, bad hitting philosophy, bad pitching philosophy, maybe. It's frustrating. And I don't know what you do if you just put out your feelers and get as many guys from the Dodgers as you possibly can and say, hey guys, come and sell us some state secrets. Come and tell us what you guys are doing down in AAA. Because like you guys pointed out, or do it for the Brewers, right? Because figure out what they're doing with Kyle Harrison. Figure out what they did with Priester. Figure out what they're doing with David Hamilton right now that we didn't. Figure out what they did with Durbin that we aren't. Go out and find out why James Tibbs is absolutely raking and no one in the organization thought it might be worthwhile to actually keep this guy around, if for no other reason to include in a blockbuster offseason trade for Ketel Marte, let's say. It's frustrating. It's extremely frustrating because all of our best players, they're only getting older. To waste these years hurts. It really does. Crochet, I want to win so bad for this dude. Like I said, even Contreras for his short window here. I want to win so badly for this dude. We are not doing these guys any service whatsoever.
Yeah, the only sort of silver lining is that they're so bad that they've actually got like Portnoy's attention now, who like never pays attention to the Red Sox. Like they've pissed him off so much that like he's printing sell the team shirts. So the only thing that maybe could happen is we know John Henry does sometimes respond to fan pushback. It's pretty much the whole reason you got Rafael Devers to sign here. It's because fans were literally screaming at him in the parking lot to do it. So maybe if he's at Fenway for, a few more games and he's hearing the sell the team chants and he's seeing them, lose and lose and lose and, he hears the noise, maybe he reacts and maybe we finally get something. Again, it's probably going to start with Cora, but maybe he finally wakes up and goes, hey, hold on. We shouldn't be 2-8. Like with the money that I'm spending on this team, because again, they still have a pretty high payroll. It's not like, just because they traded the Devers contract, like he gave Ranger Suarez $130 million. So he's probably sitting there going, why did I give this guy all this money and now he sucks? When he was good last year with Philly. What are you guys doing? Are you telling him to pitch different? Is he preparing different? Like what's happening here? Like why can't Roman Anthony throw? Our number one prospect, the guy who was the number one prospect in baseball, and he can't throw? What's going on? So I hope that's the case. Again, it's John Henry, so I'm not going to hold my breath on him actually, waking up and giving a damn anytime soon. But the fact that fans are making this much noise now, second week of the season, I think, you will start to see some moves being made because it just can't go on like this. I know it's early, it's the first month of the season, but to be 2-8, you're losing to playoff teams. You have two coming up, the Twins and the Cardinals. You should be better than those teams. You should definitely be better than them. If you can't beat Minnesota and St. Louis, then yeah, definitely sound the alarm bells. Then it is catastrophe time. Because again, those are two teams that are rebuilding and have no interest in competing this year. If you can't beat them, you've got a serious, serious problem.
Muted.
Muted.
I caught it that time.
Yeah.
I don't want to have Charlie syndrome and type, and have like elephants on the keyboard. But 2-second take, the Red Sox are a low IQ organization on so many levels. Low IQ, and they can't fix it. They're not going to fix it. There's no reason to believe suddenly they will have the solutions because they're low IQ.
Yeah, it's a good example of the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? They're low IQ to such an extent they think they're the smartest guys in the room.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous. So we're looking down the barrel of 2 more games at the hands of this red-hot Brewers team. Absolutely great. We have a Tuesday matchup, 6:45 p.m. between Jacob Misiorowski and Garrett Crochet. How are we feeling going into this?
Not good. Jacob Misiorowski is going to be a Cy Young candidate this year. So once again, the Red Sox going up against an absolutely filthy pitcher. Obviously you feel good because it's your ace against theirs. So you feel good with Crochet on the mound. His last outing was not very good, but I do feel like Crochet with this lineup, he can definitely keep them at bay. But I just feel like your offense is going to be, fighting an uphill battle against this guy. And again, just with this lineup and with, the way the Red Sox are playing right now, which is just not good baseball, I don't expect them to, miraculously wake up and score 4 or 5 runs against one of the best young pitchers in baseball. I think that Mizrowski's going to show up tomorrow and he's going to K probably 9 or 10 of you. And it's just going to be, just swing and miss after swing and miss. And if Crochet makes like one mistake, that could be it. So I think it'll be a low scoring game, but I think that's because Red Sox might get shut out tomorrow. So I'm not feeling good about it.
I haven't felt good about this whole series. I thought right when I saw the matchups, I'm like, this has sweep written all over it. They're all 3 of their starters are very good. Everything would have to go perfect with our starters going at least 6 innings of 2 or 3 run ball. I think if I can say anything about Crochet tomorrow, it's that he'll probably go a good distance and then, also, I mean, oh, am I still here?
I think we just lost you for a moment there.
Am I back?
Yep.
Terry just disappeared into the void.
Yeah, I saw that.
Red Sox are so bad, Terry's he's gone. That's it. They just vanished him.
Maybe John Henry bought my internet provider. I don't know. So I think Crochet will save the bullpen. I don't know how I feel about Whitlock. Maybe it'll be fine. It was his first start back. Chapman blew a save his last time out. So I mean, every aspect of this team is shaky right now. Brewers, I just looked it up because they started so many lefties tonight. Obviously, they won't do that tomorrow with Crochet out there. They are just looking at the batting average right now. Yeah, 13th in Major League Baseball in batting average against lefties. Small sample size because we're only in the 2nd or 3rd week here, but 232 with a 358 on base. So I don't know what that really means. Probably a low scoring game. We're lucky, by the way, Jackson Chourio isn't healthy in the lineup because, man, that would be a different series.
Yeah, I mean, this dude, Mizrowski, he's just really good. 105 strikeouts over 77 innings in his 2-year career right now for the Brewers. Really with just a solid bullpen behind him and a really great offense running out there on the other side of the ball. Garrett Crochet is going to be an interesting one to watch because he's had 2 starts so far, both very different in the way he pitched. One was very fastball heavy, then he tried to step away from that in the Houston series, and he pitched fairly well versus Houston until the runs started coming down, of course. So, 1 6-inning shutout, 1 game where he gave up 4 earned runs, 5 runs total in 5 innings. So it's going to be interesting to see how he bounces back against a really feisty, solid Brewers lineup. I am afraid that we're going to lose tomorrow, and Garrett Crochet is probably not going to be to blame, would be my guess. This lineup produced a lot of runs today. I don't necessarily see them replicating that tomorrow. If they do, however, hopefully, you got a guy like Yoshida or Duran or even Contreras. Contreras has that fight in him, right? Apparently hates this team. I think he's been hit by a pitch 24 times versus the Brewers, I think it was, and not too happy about it, which you saw a lot of that fight in his eyes as soon as he got plunked today, just absolutely going at the pitcher. So, maybe we'll see a good old fashioned brawl. Maybe that'll, knock something loose for the Red Sox in a positive way. But otherwise, I am afraid that we're probably going to lose and drop to 2-9. So thank you guys for tuning in. It's, not an ideal start to the season thus far, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shapes up. Worst case scenario, Dustin May is the projected starter for that first Cardinals game. So maybe just like we beat up on Walker Buehler, maybe we can have some catharsis there. I'm Nick. joined, of course, by Jason and Terry. We've been the Bastards of Boston. Thank you so much for tuning in, for commenting. A lot of comments tonight. We really do appreciate it. I always keep an eye on the chat, even if I don't always address it. Yeah, hopefully Crochet can lead the charge tomorrow and surprise us all. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Let's go, Red Sox.